Dunn and Dunn identified emotional elements that are going to be attached to personal learning styles. So the emotional attributes are related to motivation, persistence, and even responsibility. Is the student willing to conform to the learning task or assignment, or are they going to be associated more with non-conformity? What about patience and structure? So motivation is the first stimuli within the Dunn and Dunn's emotional element. Motivation is really a very lengthy and interesting topic. It exists on a spectrum from amotivation to extrinsic and then into intrinsic motivation. And often the mistake is made that the motivation stays the same between students or even within an individual student. However, it's important to recognize that an individual who may seem completely unmotivated will be highly motivated under different circumstances or even within a different topic. So for example, maybe a student's going to appear highly unmotivated to the math teacher, but the English teacher is going to find that same student to be highly motivated. So motivation can also change according to the time of day and the type of activity. How often have you witnessed a highly motivated student who is excited about learning to immediately becoming unmotivated when asked to work with a partner or in a group? Motivation is really tricky and hard to identify, initialize, and even to maintain. The trick is to know yourself and the student well. Identify what situations are going to energize and mobilize the student, and then really step back and identify what disanimates them. Persistence is simply the ability to start a task and follow through with it until it is completed. So if a student has a shorter attention span, their persistence will be low. And low persistence is also attributed to any activity that may be too challenging. Activities that are too challenging lead to a loss of interest, irritation, daydreaming, distractions, socializing, and even more. The same list of results can be attributed to any activity that may be too simple for the student. This is referring to the zone of proximal development. As every educator knows, creating activities within the realm of ability of a student can be difficult. The pace of the assignment is also attributed to persistence. If the activity moves too quickly or too slowly, it's going to affect persistence. The greatest solution for this problem is to create self-pacing activities for students. Self-pacing allows students to have more or less time to address the tasks according to their talents, interests, abilities, and even learning styles. Giving objectives aids students in developing and maintaining persistence. The student then will understand the importance of what they are learning and the purpose. Note though that like motivation, persistence is going to change according to the type of activity, the learning environment, and more. It is a constant trial and error by the educator to identify the attributes of persistence within that area for an individual. So determine what is best. Identify the persistence level of the students. The educator really needs to take a significant amount of time to observe the student. Start at a simpler activity and gradually increase the complexity and the duration. So responsibility is simply the learner following through with a given task, completing it to the best of their ability and within that given time frame or by the due date. Dunn and Dunn suggests the responsible student needs a clearly stated assignment, resources, time frame, or due date, a list of where to get help or assistance, suggestion on how to test their knowledge, and alternative ways to demonstrate that they've achieved these learning objectives. So lastly, structure. This is the establishment of specific rules for working on and completing an assignment. What would these rules entail for you? Simply, these are the instructions for the assignment that include what it is, the objectives, how to complete it, and even the due date. This contributes to the learning personality by determining the mode by which the student wants guidance. Some students are going to want a lot of guidance and structure for each assignment, and this type of learning is quickly identified by observing and listening after an assignment has been given. Do they ask for clarifying questions? Do they ask their classmate for more guidance? And do they look to see what others are doing? The opposite also exists. The student who wants less structure. This type of learner who's going to want independence to determine their rules and process the information. And they also want to have the freedom of choice and creativity. Think of a structure upon a spectrum of desire to have substantial guidance, more dependency upon that authority figure, and to have less guidance, which is more independence and autonomy, the ability to be more creative. The student who is more motivated and persistent and responsible is going to require less structure in their assignments and also less supervision. In contrast, the unmotivated, irresponsible, and lacking persistence is going to require more structure and more guidance through experience. So then the educator now, during time and through that experience, is going to gain insights to guide the students through this learning process.